US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump receive a warm welcome in Beijing. We'll discuss what's on their agenda for the next 2 days. Hello, I'm Nathan King, filling in for Anna Naidu, and this is The Heat. Hello again. It's what's being described as a state visit plus. Beijing showing its hospitality to US President and his wife with a warm welcome. Chinese President Xi Jinping and First Lady Madame Peng greeted the Trumps with a tour of the imperial treasures of the Forbidden City. Treated the couple also to afternoon tea and a performance from the famous Peking Opera. The two leaders also expected to discuss trade and the DPRK nuclear threat during the state visit. We begin our coverage in Beijing with CGTN's Jessica Stone. Let's begin with that wonderful tour of the Forbidden City. I mean, I've been there. It's just an amazing place, Jessica. What did we get from that, and what can we expect on day 2?
Well, what's so beautiful about what the Trumps were treated to last night is that they got everything shut down for a private tour of the Forbidden City, a private dining experience with President Xi Jinping and Madame Peng Liyuan. And that is the first time that any foreign leader has gotten that honor since the founding of modern-day China. So just imagine the sort of very busy, one of the busiest places in Beijing, full of tourists, completely shut down, quiet, intimate, as dark as falling, and these couples got a lot of talk time, a lot of walk time, sort of an opportunity to get a personal tour, really, from President Xi Jinping for U.S. President Donald Trump. So it was really an evening of festivities, and afterwards we did get a tweet which indicates that President Trump was pretty thrilled with what he experienced. He said, "Thank you for an unforgettable afternoon and evening at the Forbidden City." Nathan.
Okay, well, it's dawn where you are. What can we expect on day 2 after the entertainment, the tough talking on trade?
Yeah, you know, this is really going to be the test of the relationship on day 2, because this is the day when there are several bilateral meetings, business meetings. So this is the day when we expect to hear more about some of the business deals that have been attempted to be reached or leaked. And we're talking about some $9 billion in deals that are expected to be announced and signed today, including some memorandums of understanding on Chinese purchases of U.S. helicopters and other types of industrial sales goods. But there isn't the perception or the expectation that there's going to be a lot of movement on the overall trade relationship. No big steps forward on a bilateral trade agreement or on addressing some of the concerns of the U.S. business community, which, as you know, include a lot about intellectual property and forced technology transfer, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica, obviously security too. The US President discussed the DPRK nuclear threat throughout his Asia trip with his allies in Japan and South Korea. Let's have a listen to what he said to the National Assembly in the Republic of Korea.
We hope, in fact, I'll go a step further, we hope to God we never have to use. With that being said, I really believe that it makes sense for North Korea to come to the table and to make a deal that's good for the people of North Korea and the people of the world. I do see certain movement, yes, but let's see what happens.
Jessica, that was actually the press conference, not the National Assembly, but same words, really. What's going to happen? Are there any indications of where China and the US are going to be on the DPRK, encouraging talks, or is it going to be more rhetoric?
Well, I think we can probably expect a little bit of both, because China and the U.S. are not completely aligned in terms of how they see the path to get to those talks, but they do agree that there needs to be a way back to talks with Pyongyang. Of course, China has a lot of say in the matter, considering its trade relationship with Pyongyang, and that is really where Donald Trump's focus is honing in. Much of the reason we don't expect a lot of movement in the trade relationship is because he's sort of taking a softer approach on the U.S.-China trade relationship in exchange for what he hopes are concessions by China with respect to how it pressures its neighbor, the DPRK. But we'll have to see when we get to those press statements if they've made any movement. Any incremental movement is certainly going to be celebrated because there's a lot riding on the line here. As you talk to people on the street, and you know this all too well, Nathan, people are mindful somewhat of the problem on their border with the Korean Peninsula and that nuclear weapons program that Pyongyang is developing.
Yeah, it's not lips and teeth anymore with the DPRK. Thanks so much, Jessica Stone from Beijing. It's going to be a busy day.